Welcome to the Here We Go podcast. It is officially Misery Monday as we watched our 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers get absolutely embarrassed yesterday. So today I'm going to be talking about that game and exactly what happened and some of the things that I saw and talking about some of the things that I'm seeing today on social media with fans. Basically, the sky is falling, to say the least. The number one thing that everybody's talking about today is the officiating and just the fact that this was an embarrassing loss. And it really wasn't an embarrassing loss. The officiating was bad. But the worst part about this entire thing, in my opinion, is that the coaching staff were outcoached all game. I thought Shane Steichen had a good plan. He came in, he was determined to stop the run. They ran 8-man fronts constantly. I mean, had 8 guys in the box almost nearly every single play. And Pittsburgh never adjusted to it, to be perfectly honest with you. We lost James Daniels, so you've got Mason McCormick making his very first start in the NFL. Then you have Spencer Anderson on the right, who we just benched for Mason McCormick because he already wasn't playing well. And you thought you were just going to pound the football down the throats of the Indianapolis Colts in their stadium. Well, that clearly was not going to happen. They were determined from the beginning that they were going to let their linebackers run, and their linebackers made plays. I mean, there's no two ways about that. They made plays. They were making the plays that we didn't make as an offense, and we refused to adjust. We just decided we were going to run the ball and continue to try to shove it down their throat, and we couldn't get any type of run game going, honestly, until late in the second quarter. The offense stalls out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and I think 3 and out. They went 3 straight 3 and out sessions. And at some point, you have to realize as an offense, what's not working for you needs to change, and you need to adjust to that. About the end of the first quarter, I was starting to just yell at nobody because I'm watching it at home on my TV, right? But I mean, I'm yelling at the TV like, spread the field, like, get them out of this 8-man in the box look. Like, you needed to get your quick, fast receivers out on the field, like Scotty Miller and Calvin Austin III, with George Pickens, who's a deep threat, and you needed to start spreading this thing out. And I know we don't trust our tackles right now, so you want Darnell Washington on the field. But when they're stacking the box and they know he's not a huge receiving threat, they're not backing off. They're just going to keep coming. I just felt like if we'd have spread them out much earlier and started running deeper routes instead of, again, we're still early on. I mean, we keep running these like everybody is within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. And when a team's trying to already stack the box, you're not doing yourself any favors by running everything short of the sticks. They don't have to defend anything. We needed to spread them out, open this thing up early in the game, and trust Justin Fields. And for better or worse, at some point you got to put the ball in his hands. But what we did was wait until it was 17-0, and then we are like, "Oh, hey Justin, do you think maybe you can go out there and save us at this point?" 17-0 in the NFL is extremely difficult to overcome, and it proved to be too much in this game yesterday. But I felt like we should have spread this team out, start running some guys downfield, and let Justin Fields use his natural ability to either find a guy open or take off with the ball. And eventually the Colts would have to adjust because either Justin was going to complete some passes downfield and they'd have to back off, or you're still creating favorable matchups with the run game because they can't man up. They're going to have to stay in zone because you can't have having guys turning their back running downfield with someone as dangerous as Justin Fields having the ball in his hands. So you knew they were going to run a ton of zone coverage. Guys like Freiermuth should have found the openings in the zone. We saw Calvin Austin last week before finding openings in the zone. Even Scotty Miller had a couple big catches last week. We didn't see any of that this time. I mean, we did not see enough from our offense until it was really too little too late. And at that point, I felt like we basically tried to make Justin carry us to a victory here. And he almost did, to be fair. He made his share of mistakes. The fumble was ugly. I mean, that play was just ugly. But here we are, a team where we're hoping to have an offensive coordinator that's going to kind of break trends and have this actual game plan that builds off each other. But tendencies have shown already through 4 weeks on third down and short, he's going to roll the pocket out. And guess what? The Colts knew it was coming. So what they do, they sent both guys outside blitzing, and they had more guys coming than we had blockers. So Justin rolls out, and there's a dude right in his face. Now, I thought he could have maybe stopped and got a pass off to Connor Hayward. Probably wasn't going to be a first down. I didn't exactly see where the first down marker was, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought he was going to be a little short if they completed it. But it would have saved about a 20-yard sack fumble turned into a turnover and possibly got us some points on the board. So Justin certainly wasn't perfect. But 22 of 34, 312 yards passing, a passing touchdown in which he finds Pat Freiermuth, which I like to see. Then he had 55 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, averaging 5.5 a carry. He was by far the best player in Pittsburgh on either side of the ball yesterday. He actually was carrying the team by himself, which is why it's amazing to me that I'm seeing people today asking, should we start looking at Russell Wilson? Well, what the hell was Russell Wilson going to do in this game that Justin Fields didn't? He wasn't running for 55 yards. I can tell you that right now. That dude's immobile. He's not immobile. That's not fair, but he's not nearly as mobile as Justin Fields. He's not making some of the plays Justin made yesterday. And a 35-year-old quarterback's not going to run with the same reckless abandon that Justin Fields did yesterday either, to be fair. I thought yesterday the silver lining of the game was you found your franchise quarterback. I think Justin Fields is your future franchise quarterback. He's done enough to me to be called the starter moving forward. I thought he played a fantastic game. If anybody's looking at that game yesterday and you don't think we need a wide receiver too, you are absolutely outside your mind. Crazy. There's absolutely nobody in this wide receiver room that can consistently get open outside of George Pickens. And honestly, Pickens is covered on a lot of his. He's just so talented he can still make the catch. But he did some good things. But even he didn't show up until late. I mean, he really didn't show up until later in the game. He did have a nice game, 7 catches, 113 yards. Still hasn't gotten a touchdown. Could have had a touchdown. The ball went right through his hands. But I think the moral of the story of this game was we got outcoached and we beat ourselves. You can't have turnovers in a game where your defense isn't helping you. And our defense really was not helping. They were bad yesterday. No doubt about that. No pass rush virtually. I mean, like we had let me just double check this here. We had 2 sacks, but the pressure really wasn't consistent. Wasn't like we were rushing the Flacco hardly at all throughout that game. I just think what you saw yesterday was a banged up offensive line with 2 guys who clearly aren't ready to start at guard, and a coaching staff that thought they were going to outwill a team that clearly came out with much more fire and much more intensity and just wanted this game more. I mean, their offensive line came out and they bullied us down the field twice in a row. And I could sit here and I could complain about TJ Watt getting held and tackled to the ground before he sacks Joe Flacco on that touchdown pass to Downs. But what the hell was the defense doing the entire drive down the field before that play? They sure didn't stop anybody. Patrick Queen did not fill any holes in the run game at all. He was bad. This was a bad game for Patrick Queen. I mean, we talked about him needing to step up. Colin and I talked about him needing to step up big prior to last week's game. We liked what he did last week. And this week he goes right back to just a guy who's not making plays. Just not making plays. Didn't even look like his coverage was great in this one. If I'm being honest, that was a bit disappointing. TJ was non-existent. They were chipping and doing everything they could to keep him out of the game. TJ did not have a chance to do anything because nobody was helping. Nick Herbig did not set the edge on the other side. I felt like this was a game we really saw that we missed Alex Highsmith. Leal came in. He wasn't really doing much better, setting the edge. I didn't think he was terrible, but he didn't really do anything. Herbig had no pass rush. So the concerns people had about him were 100% true. The fact he was on the field more and he was getting, more down in the run game a little bit, that definitely I think might have affected his pass rush. Sure, he had the ankle, but he came back. I mean, he came back and played, so you can use the ankle as an excuse if you want, or you can realize this guy took a step back on the field and he just wasn't very good. I really like Nick Herbig. And to be fair, I think he's a better pass rusher than Alex Highsmith. I also think Alex Highsmith is 1,000% better in the run game right now. And these are two guys that really were on the same trajectory. If you think about where Highsmith started, he was more of a pass rush specialist. Same as Herbig. That's okay. He's a developing guy, but he showed me yesterday he's not ready to start. If you lose Alex Highsmith for an extended period of time, Herbig's not ready for this. But he's going to have to be because we're not going to have Alex back quickly. So we're going to see more of the same from this. Minka and Elliott played well. There was no splash. I thought Sean Elliott played a fantastic game. I think of the defensive players, Deshaun Elliott, Cam Hayward, and Larry Ogunjobi were the three best players on the field. Jackson probably is a guy who could be an honorable mention on this list because I thought he was in coverage a couple of different times, but he missed some bad tackles. And Joey Porter Jr., I mean, how you don't intercept that ball in the end zone is beyond me. That was a gift. I mean, it was a great read to get there to break it up, but that thing was gift wrapped for you to intercept it, and he drops it. I'm not as hard on him on the play. The first play, again, it was another zone coverage play where he's coming off his man. He's trying to make a play on the ball. He kind of overran it, kind of slipped. That stuff happens. He was at least in position, and it was a really good throw by Anthony Richardson. He missed some really bad tackles too. I just felt like the Colts came out with a more physical mindset. They imposed their will, and our defense just broke, and the offense followed suit. And that's really what this game boiled down to. So defensively, we weren't good. Offensively, it was George Pickens and Justin Fields or bust. Najee did have a nice reception there later in the game that set up a potential scoring opportunity. I thought Calvin Austin had a really nice punt return, and he's actually starting to develop into a bit of a nice little punt returner this season. He's much better this year than he was last year. So maybe he's starting to kind of figure some things out back there, but he's finding some creases. He's making some things happen. He had a great return. I believe that return happened on the same drive that Justin fumbles that ball that creates the turnover. George Pickens, somebody better get him through these running back drills and learn to tuck the ball away. That was crippling. I mean, you drive the ball all the way inside the 5. He makes a phenomenal play to break the tackle. First of all, he makes the catch. The guy's draped all over him. He breaks the tackle. He gets upfield, gets a first down, And for whatever reason, he's holding the ball completely out away from his body, covering 0 points on the football, and is just palming it almost like a basketball. Dude, that's begging for a turnover, and that's exactly what happened in this. So even though George had a nice game, I mean, plays like that, those are killer. I mean, first you fumble one away, then you let a touchdown go right through your hands. So for everybody praising George Pickens today for having 7 catches and 113 yards, you can say he had a nice game. You can also say he cost us the game in some ways because he took at least 10 points off the board in a game we lost by 3. That's facts. His fumble led to a turnover inside the 5, not the red zone, the 5. We were scoring something off that play. And to be honest with you, so far nobody stopped Justin in a read option down the goal line. So this probably was 6 that he took off the board. Then he drops a touchdown. That's another 6 he takes off the board. There's 14 points potentially that he took off the board with his play. And those are things that you cannot do if you want to be a number 1 wide receiver and you want to be considered a top wide receiver in the league. That is unacceptable. 100% unacceptable. And I'm going to be harder on George Pickens because of who he is and who he thinks he can be and who I think he can be. I love George Pickens, the player. But those are things that just you got to clean up. You got to clean that up. That was ugly. This wide receiver 2 room is just atrocious. I mean, they're so bad. In a game where you see Justin Fields throw for 312 yards, guys not named George Pickens, Van Jefferson 2 catches, 21 yards. Calvin Austin 1 catch, 17 yards. That's the list. How could you possibly say we don't need a wide receiver 2 in this offense? I know Arthur Smith isn't the air raid college football system where you need 4 receivers out on the field where you can, sling it all over the place. You gotta have somebody else who can get open in this offense. I mean, this is just terrible, and this is why I really have been high on Justin. He's throwing these balls in tight windows because these guys aren't getting open, and he's still finding a way to find success in an offense with just that's completely devoid of talent at the wide receiver position. Calvin Austin is still a gadget guy. I don't care what anybody says. He had a good game last game. I'll give him that. But where did the bulk of his yardage come from? It was a one play, 50+ yard touchdown. So out of his 92 yards, 60% of it came in one play. That's not a guy consistently getting open. Now, he did make some nice plays, and he made a nice play in this one, to be honest with you. But you can't just be a one play guy game if you're going to be a major focal point of the offense, which I consider a wide receiver 2 and a wide receiver 3 in most offenses to be a major focal point of an offense. He's not that guy. We saw more out of Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington than we've seen out of our wide receiver room. And that's Darnell Washington. This dude wasn't supposed to catch 10 balls this year. Like, he caught 10 balls last year. And already this year, he's out playing our wide receiver room. That's a fact. It's not a good fact, but it's a fact. To the point where I would question whether or not he needs to be the one getting involved in the pass game more so than guys like Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin. Listen, these 5-yard routes are not going to work for Calvin Austin. That dude needs to be running downfield every play and use his speed to open this offense up a little bit. I know you can't do that literally every play, but the Colts exposed exactly what our offense is lacking right now. Our offensive line has been atrocious. Broderick Jones was just bad in this one. I still think Broderick's got a bright future. I don't like that he was responding to fans on social media. He liked one of my posts commenting about how bad he was in this one. Man, dude, listen, you're going to be a really good player at some point. You're raw. You're a first round pick for a reason. We traded up to get you for a reason. But right now, this year has not been good. He played better last week, but this week it was bad. There's some adjustments that need to happen. I hope Isaac Seumalo is back this week. It's a little concerning to me, and I'm probably gonna set this up as a whole separate episode. It's a little concerning to me that with what we've seen in our wide receiver room, that Roman Wilson can't get a hat right now. I get the special teams numbers and this. I don't care. Listen, I don't care who's running down the field on special teams right now. I'll run a freaking backup lineman downfield on as a punt gunner if I have to get better offensive production out of the wide receiver room. I'm dead serious. I could care less at this point because you cannot keep putting Van Jefferson on the field game in and game out to be a horrible blocker, and he's been absolutely horrible. And he doesn't get open to catch footballs. He's got like 4 catches on the season. Actually, I'm gonna look this up real quick right now before I wrap this thing up because he's just so irritating to me that this is continuing to be a thing. I'm sorry, I was wrong. He's got 5 catches for 36 yards on the entire season. We've played 4 weeks of football, folks. Unacceptable. Just completely unacceptable. So we got our work cut out for us. Number one, the coaching staff better get it together because you cannot be getting out coached by a team that's inferior to you. You have to be able to make adjustments in the game. We didn't adjust to them in their offense. We didn't adjust to them in their defense. We just tried to do what Tomlin tends to do at times, which is be stubborn, play our style of football, not change it up. Because heaven forbid we gave Justin a chance to make some adjustments prior to like halfway through the third quarter. We gave him a quarter and a half to try to make a comeback. And look what he did. He made the offense explosive at that point. Changes are needed. That's all I'm going to say. I really think that I really think the coaching staff needs to take some things away from this game, and they need to make some adjustments on this. But I'll say this: Justin Fields is the guy. You don't. There's no way you can convince me you're moving on from him at this point. I think we need Jaylen Warren back. Cordero Patterson played really nice. He just got hurt early, but you could see we definitely need Jalen back. His pass protection alone would have been an asset in this game. And we need somebody to step up in this wide receiver 2 room. I think the defense will bounce back next week against Dallas. They're not going to have the same type of thing, but this team was not prepared for this game. That's another coaching thing. Like, they were not ready for this game, and I can tell you that. Even the comments from the players in the post game interviews and things, talking about needing to practice harder, more attention to detail. That's Tomlin. I mean, that's Tomlin. That's not setting the table for a game where you should have won. But I'll say this: if we're going to end this on an optimistic note, I don't think many people expected this team to be 3-1 at this point in the season. We've had 3 away games out of the first 4. We're 3-1. We're heading the division right now, so we still control our own destiny to this point. I think injuries are a big concern. Obviously, that's really becoming a super major concern for me, and I think that we've started to see George get his feet wet, and he's starting to come on right now. We've already seen a couple of big plays of his get wiped out due to penalty, but this game, he goes over 100 yards for the first time all season, and I still think that we can finish all the way through the bye very strongly to put ourselves in a good position, not only to make the playoff, but give ourselves an opportunity to win the division. The Browns and the Bengals still do not look like good football teams. They're very, very winnable games right now. The Ravens are starting to put it together. That's going to be the fight from here on out. It's just trying to figure out a way to beat the Ravens to finish first in the division and give ourselves a bye going into the wild card and give ourselves a shot to make a run here. I mean, I don't know. That seems a little far fetched after watching this game from yesterday, but again, Justin Fields looked like the guy, and that's what this offense has been missing. Now, if they can find some continuity in the offensive line, they get some guys healthy. I don't know the extent of Daniel's injury just yet, so that'll be something to monitor. But Sam Ollie presumably back next week. That's going to be a great thing, great addition back. Get Spencer Anderson out of the game. He did not play very well again, but maybe we'll figure some things out with Broderick Jones and get this offense a chance to move the football. But I definitely want to see adjustments happening faster than they were. So again, Misery Monday, but you know what? We're still 3-1 right now. We got a Dallas team coming in that sounds like will not have Micah Parsons. There's optimism. There's a reason to feel good about ourselves, despite having a loss. So let's not try to overreact a little too much. I'm seeing some pretty crazy stuff on social media today, so try not to overreact too much. I mean, it's one game. Like this is any given Sunday. It's exactly why the football, term exists, and we can still come back and get a win against Dallas at home. Maybe we'll get to see some renegade happen where big plays start happening all over the place. So I hope y'all turn your Monday around a little bit. Start feeling a little bit better about looking towards Dallas and forgetting about this last week. Let me know what you think, though. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we go on. Appreciate all the feedback that I get on this. Have a good day.